What is good, YouTube, and welcome back to MANIACI, and today we got 7 bold predictions for the 2023 WWE Hall of Fame from What Culture Wrestling, man. Now listen, we are on the road to WrestleMania, and one of the biggest things about WrestleMania, other than the show itself, to me personally, is the Hall of Fame ceremony, man. So listen, any day now, we're going to start getting inductees for this year's Hall of Fame ceremony, so I figure why not react to 7 bold predictions for it, man. So let's get it, man.
WWE Hall of Fame is an interesting concept. I like seeing anyone who has beaten themselves up for years get their due, but we are running out of people to put in there. So rather than stick to the most obvious choices, let's have some fun and come up with some crazy ones. And I am Simon What Culture. Please do hit that subscribe button. This is 7 bold predictions for the 2023 WWE Hall of Fame. Number 7, the Great Muta. Currently on his goodbye run, the only issue with this is that we probably shouldn't give the Great Muta a microphone. His recent comments following his match with Shinsuke Nakamura were not cool, and there's no excuse for that kind of language, especially in 2023. It is not right. That aside, as he is hanging up his boots, if WWE is going to make an outside call, Muta would probably be it. He has had a Hall of Fame career, especially as he rewrote the rules when it came to athletic wrestling, and that moonsault, man, not only was it ahead of its time, but it may be the best one ever. Apologies to Christopher Daniels. By the mid-2000s, he was an essential cog in the puro wrestling machine, even if the whole industry at the time was struggling. And before he pushed himself too far and broke in front of our eyes, the Great One was basically incredible. WWE also has access to some of his footage so they can celebrate him properly. And if Triple H does hold the keys to the Hall of Fame now, I can see it. Again though, maybe have a chat with him first about how everyone needs to be respected.
Yeah, but Great Muta, I can see this happening. You know, they let Shinsuke go over there, have a match with him. This could be a part of some type of agreement. You know, Triple H, I know, is a big fan of wrestling overall, and that's the difference. Like, Triple H will recognize, you know, wrestlers from other promotions around the world. I could probably see this one happening, honestly.
Maybe have a chat with him first about how everyone needs to be respected. Number 6, Michelle McCool.
Yes.
So as we all know, the women's revolution in WWE was a good thing. It came way too late, but when it did happen, it changed the narrative when it came to female talent. The problem then was certain performers got left behind.
Yeah.
Because while undoubtedly there was a list of people who were hired mainly for their looks, there were also those trying to move things forward, even though they kept being told no. Michelle McCool is such a person. She has gone on record saying that if she did go out there and smacked her opponent around, that there was a telling off waiting backstage, meaning McCool had to come up with ways to appease the office while also trying to have good matches. And I mean, when you process that, it is absolutely ridiculous. It's why Michelle would start busting out stars clashes whenever she thought she could get away with it. And for this attitude alone, she deserves some sort of a nod.
I feel like Michelle McCool, you know, you look at just that time period, you know, Michelle McCool, Layla, Mickey was doing her thing, Beth Phoenix, Victoria, the Bella Twins broke in, Natalya. Like, you know, all those women, you know, they definitely deserve the respect and the recognition. Michelle McCool, first ever Divas champion. Maurice is another one. Man, like, I feel like, especially like her being in the Royal Rumble match this year, she actually did pretty good. Like, still, you know, no ring rust. You know, of course, Undertaker went in last year. You know, that's her husband. So, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Michelle going this year. I think she'll definitely make for a great inductee. Well overdue though. This should have happened a while ago, honestly. You know, but I say all that to say, you know, Michelle McCool definitely deserves her recognition. You know, before the women's evolution, you know, she was out there on SmackDown. Whether the match was 2-3 minutes long, she was doing her thing. She was carrying the division alongside Layla. Y'all remember Lay Cool? Come on now.
Cool wrestled in this era, the story would be totally different. This may be one reason WWE doesn't want to do it. It doesn't shine the best light on them, but I don't think too many individuals would raise an eyebrow.
Okay, other than Piggy James, but that was okay.
Nothing else. Her passion for the industry shone through like a torch. That wasn't the best analogy I could have come up with. Number 6, Santino Marella. That's right, I said it because it had to be said. This is always going to be controversial, as there are a lot of people who do not like goofy wrestling, but I am not such a fella. In fact, I love it. And when it comes to people who have entertained me constantly over the years, you got to give it up for Santino Marella. The true joy of the character was how much the man embraced it, and his over-the-top antics were excellent, especially if you ever went to a house show. Santino knew what his job was and warmed up the crowd like an expert, but he was also pretty damn funny. Remember all that stuff with Stone Cold Steve Austin? That was wonderful. It absolutely connected with the audience, as we saw during the 2011 Elimination Chamber, when he made it to the final two alongside Daniel Bryan. That reaction when he almost won, dare I say,
I believe that was the 2012 Chamber, if I'm not mistaken.
Alongside Daniel Bryan. That reaction when he almost won, dare I say, it was perfect. So if wrestling is meant to bring you joy, then I think Marella definitely deserves some point of a nod. I mean, I still watch his nonsense on YouTube, including that clip where he has a tea party with Sheamus. He's alright by me.
Now, I saw some, I don't watch Impact, but I saw Santino's authority figure or something on Impact. So I don't know if that'll hinder the chances of this happening. Santino Marella, I still remember the episode he debuted in. You know, he was a fan in the crowd, man. He beat Umaga, R.I.P. Umaga, who should also be in the Hall of Fame this year. Should have been in the Hall of Fame, honestly. But yeah, you know, I feel like it's just one of them things, you know, I guess time get away from me, and I gotta realize, you know, Santino debuted about 16 years ago, so it's kind of like, wow, you know, so it's been a while. It's been a while. Him winning the Intercontinental title, I would actually like to see Santino get some recognition, though, man. Definitely.
Number 4, the Ministry of Darkness. So this one is a little bit different. There's no doubt the Ministry of Darkness made their mark during the Attitude Era, but was it ridiculous? Yes. Yes, it was. The final update of the Undertaker character, as he basically became the devil or something, it also incorporated the likes of Ron Simmons, JBL, Dennis Knight, Viscera, and a ton more recognizable faces as groups became the in thing. I mean, there was DX, the NWO, the Job Squad. Clearly Mark Calloway felt like he needed his own crew. This is the major reason I can see them getting in. You can invite back a bunch of previous inductees and have them do another speech to a crowd that will likely enjoy the nostalgia. The stable does still beat strongly in some fans' heart too, whereas others call it Vince Russo nonsense. But look at it this way. Given the popularity of WWE at the time, they were involved in some of the most highly rated wrestling segments ever.
Thanks.
You can't say they didn't have an impact.
I was gonna say, you know, I honestly didn't think about the Ministry of Darkness being inductees, but yeah, you know, you look at NWO, you look at DX, not the Job Squad, but you look at, you know, those groups, those factions, and, you know, the inductions that they got. If they do induct the Ministry of Darkness, it needs to be a headline. You know, Undertaker, JBL, you know, Edge, you know, it gotta be a headline. They gotta be the headline of it, pretty much.
You would also get The Undertaker back on TV, which is no bad thing. And for that one reason alone, I think this happens sooner.
Have Stephanie inducted.
Rather than later, and maybe in 2023. Number 3, Lex Luger. Right. Lex Luger should be in the Hall of Fame. That's it. If you step outside of his WWF run, he was a dynamic and powerhouse performer that stood out in his era and genuinely was over with a certain fan base. There's a reason WCW pushed him as hard as they did, and his physique was only half the reason. Luger connected. Would have been mad not to have followed up on this. The real issue today is that we remember Vince McMahon's desperation to make him the new Hulk Hogan, and yeah, that was bad. The whole ordeal was so aggressively shoved down our throats nobody was going to buy it, especially as right before this, he had been the narcissist. There was no gradual plan to get away from that. One day, he was just the American hero, and you better deal with it. Again though, when you do look further afield than what he did with Sting or Ric Flair, it's hard to deny him his due. He was in the right place at the right time, and he did exactly what he had to do. It does feel like there's still some bad blood, given that way back when he left WWE after his contract expired and turned up on WCW Nitro the same evening. But come on now, that was almost 30 years ago. I think we can forget about it now. Just move on.
Lex deserves it.
2, Vince McMahon. And now even more so after what happened in the first week of 2023, because somehow Vince McMahon is back. I mean, this was totally mad. It's quite clear Vince wants to cement himself back in the wrestling world as quickly as he can too, and a good way to sneak him back in when it comes to television would be to have him inducted into his own Hall of Fame. I thought this was likely even before he bullied his way back onto the board, so now, surely. Fans have already shown they'll cheer him regardless, which is a difficult conversation to have. And while the rhetoric has always been that McMahon shies away from things like this, it's different now because there may just be an agenda. And don't get me wrong, you can't argue that he doesn't deserve it. Vinnie Mac is the most successful wrestling promoter of all time. Sadly, there's just a lot of baggage that comes with this. And man, I don't know. I suppose we'll know very soon.
I feel like it's kind of too soon for Vince. You know, I've always wondered when I was like, Vince has been old my entire life. So when I was younger, I always like, you know, when is Vince McMahon gonna get inducted in the Hall of Fame? When is he gonna get that WrestleMania induction? I remember when I was really young, like when I started like really getting into wrestling, it was like post WrestleMania 15. It was around that time. And, you know, Hall of Fame really wasn't it wasn't a thing. But like around the time of like 05, 06, when he was doing the stuff with Shawn, that's when I kind of started thinking, I'm kind of like, when is Vince going to get inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame? And in my mind, I'm like, it got to be WrestleMania 25, right? That's a long time from now. He's going to be super old, probably retired. I was wrong. And I was back in 05, 06. WrestleMania 25 was 09. I personally think it's too soon right now, though. All the allegations is still pretty new. A lot of controversy around McMahon's name. So I personally feel if they do induct Vince McMahon in the Hall of Fame, do it next year, WrestleMania 40 in the East Coast. Yeah, it's going to be in Philly, won't be in New York, but it'll be in the East Coast. It'll be the 40th anniversary. Make Vince McMahon the headline. The guy definitely deserves it for all his contributions, man. It would be none of this if it wasn't for Vince McMahon. You know, it is what it is. Put the controversy aside, booking aside. This man is a wrestling genius. You know, he's the reason why this oil machine continues to, you know, to go, and why it's here today. Why the world of professional wrestling is the way it is today. It's because of this man right here. So
if he doesn't appear this year as well, you'd have to imagine it will be a long old slap before he does decide to put himself in there. Maybe he never goes in at all. This is going to be an interesting one to keep your eye on. So I'm going to glue my seeing device to a screen. Number 1, Cyndi Lauper. Unless Cyndi Lauper has turned this down, what the flub are we doing? Without her, the success of WrestleMania likely doesn't happen, because Lauper buying into the whole rock and wrestling partnership,
I feel like this should happen next year too.
Was a big reason people were turned on to the WWF in the first place in the 80s. I mean, she was a megastar. Obviously, this would be in the celebrity wing, although really she could be inducted altogether. And as of 2018, Cyndi admitted as of yet no one has invited her, so this has to change. Without her, Vince McMahon doesn't get his relationship with MTV, which again was pivotal to expanding his empire. This may sound like hyperbole, but I promise you it's not. Just go and Google the results. This is why it is more likely this year if Triple H is in charge of the list. He understood, for example, Bruno Sammartino's contributions to such a degree, he mended a lifelong feud between Bruno and Vince. While there doesn't seem to be any bad blood with the company and the singer, the call should still be made, and it should have been made 10 years ago. And look, there are some names on this side of the Hall of Fame that shouldn't even been thought about, so Cyndi Lauper should get in without anyone blinking. It really is mad, I tell you. She was basically the catalyst for everything we see today. Know of any other bold predictions of people?
And that's a true fact. You know, just thinking about it, I wouldn't think Cyndi Lauper, but when you really think about it, she was the first celebrity that really, like, you know, other than Mr. T, but like really one of the first celebrities that took this and got a lot of people's eyes on it in such a time where technology wasn't the way it, you know, it is today. MTV, you know, that's the reason that WrestleMania was able to be a big success. She's the reason why Vince expanded. She's really the reason that a lot of people got their eyes on this product. Like, honestly, man, like, she definitely deserves it. But I would want to save that for WrestleMania 40. You know, how about WrestleMania 1, the first one to WrestleMania 40 being inducted? This is actually interesting, man. You know, I'm excited to see who they put in the WWE Hall of Fame this year. Hopefully they get it right, man. Hopefully they do. But link down below in the description for y'all to check this video out in its entirety with no interruptions. Y'all new to the channel, man, hit that subscribe button for me for more wrestling related content. I'll see y'all in the next video. Thank you for watching MKE MANIACI. I'm out.